Hey guys, so we know that there's like eyeshadow color trends that have been going around recently, and I'm definitely one of those people who just loves to buy makeup. And I think it was Angelica Nyquist I saw, it's usually her who does these really cool ideas for videos, and she did a video where she was discussing the shades that she tends to purchase over and over and over again. And I thought, you know what, that's a great idea, because I kind of need to shake myself up and make myself realize that I'm buying the same kind of stuff over and over again. Now, I didn't intend for me to have 4 palettes in each category, but that's just how it ended up happening. So anyway, let me just show you what I keep on buying, y'all. Right, so the first category, I guess, would kind of be like mauvey, purpley kind of shades. This has been a little bit more recent than anything else that I have to show you. So I think what kind of kick-started it was the Carly Bible palette by BH. As you can see, there's a couple of mauvey shades at the very end there. It is predominantly brownie kind of palette, but the pops of color, if you want to call it, are mauve. They are purpley kind of shades, and those are the shades that I'm almost about to hit pan on. All of the rest of them I'm nowhere near hitting pan on, but those 3 here, I'm gonna hit pan on those soon. Like if I was to revisit this palette, and I would normally create very purple centric kind of looks whenever I was using this palette, which then kind of brings me on to the Wet n Wild palette, Rosé in the Air. Now you might say, okay, but this isn't really that purple. Like this is like a purpley red to me, and that's the main shade that I like out of this palette, and also this one here, which is kind of like a sparkly purpley brown. This is supposed to be like a cheap dupe of the Modern Renaissance by Anastasia, and they have got a more purpley palette, which is the Norvina palette, but I tend to draw for this one, and this one, which are the more purpley shades in this palette whenever I am using it. Then Revolution came out with their Violet palette, and this is, even though when I first got this I was like, there's not enough purple in it, there is a lot more purple in this palette than the other 2 that I just showed you combined. So this palette, I know that I'll be able to get a decent purple out of it if I was looking for a purple shade. Like back in the day, purple used to be my jam, okay? It used to be my jam. And lastly in our purple selection is the Morphe 15N palette, and they, as you can see at the bottom corner there, there's like 3 purpley shades there, which are basically my favorite shades in this palette. Those 3 shades, just to look at them, just so pretty. But yeah, I had kind of come away from purple for a while, and then it just looks like I went straight back into it. Then we've got more of our oranges and reds. So first palette that I want to show you is the Chocolate and Peaches palette by Revolution. Like Revolution, they bring out some decent palettes, and I mean, if you're looking for a wide variety and selection of shades, you could always go for a Revolution palette, because they're going to have very affordable palettes, and you're going to be able to grow your collection and have a wide variety of shadows without breaking the bank. That's what I really like about them. Now this one, as you can see, is very peachy, like this shade and this one, and then up against those brown tones, you'll always be able to create a lovely natural but yet peachy fruity kind of look. And it doesn't smell like peaches, it smells like chocolate. It would have been nice if they had made this one smell like peaches though, but whatever, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But yeah, that peachy shade, that's like my fave in that whole entire palette. And then another one which kind of follows suit is the Tryst palette by Vizia, and as you can see, there's a very peachy shade there, and again a very sparkly peachy shade there, and a very pale. On camera this might look very white, but this is like a very pale peach shade, which I would probably use just to set my lid once I've done my concealing. This also has a couple of purples, as you can see, a couple of mauves, but I tend to more so go for this palette when I'm looking to use this shade. And this one, oh, I don't know, I think the way shadows look in the pans can really like make someone want to or not want to buy a palette, and Viseart did the damn thing when it comes to the way that that palette looks, like it's aesthetically pleasing. And that brings me to the Face Shop Coca-Cola palette, which has more reds in it. So this one has red. This sparkly orange, oh my gosh, whenever I use this, especially on camera, it gives like a wet look. Oh my gosh, this is just so pretty, like that. Oh my gosh, it's a wet look eyeshadow without the actual wetness. And again, has a couple of other mauves in there as well. Like, oh, I just can't escape it. And lastly, we have the Revolution Chocolate Orange palette. And as you can see here, there are a lot of orangey kind of tones. And we've got like our brick reds, we've got our browns as well. But if I want to create an orangey natural look, I can definitely go into this palette. And I don't need to go into any other palettes to create that look, because there's pretty much everything in that palette. It's kind of crazy. Now I've got my more colorful palettes. Now there's something about colorful palettes that I just can't resist. And as soon as I saw this palette, the Creme de Couture by Sigma, this one here, I was like, oh, I need to have it. I was not that taken aback by this palette, to be fair. I was not like the formula, the quality is amazing. No, it wasn't, because there are so many other palettes which are so beautiful, pigmented. This didn't do that. Like, this is kind of chalky, but I can't deny that in the palette itself, it just looks so amazing. It looks so gorgeous, and I just can't resist it. And that's why I ended up buying it, but it was just a little bit of a wah-wah when I actually went to use it. Like, it just wasn't all there. If this was a pigmented palette, it would be absolutely perfect, because it would just be perfect. You've got all the colors that you need. I don't feel like there's anything necessarily missing. And then I have my Juvias Masquerade. Like, come on, that is just like, whenever I need colors, like bright, vibrant colors, I go to Juvias. So my colorful palettes that I've chosen right now are my Masquerade palette, and as you just saw, like that purple has been well loved, hence why it's everywhere. Also my Zulu palette. When I first got this palette, I was not that taken aback by the matte shades, but since using them a little bit more often, I'm finding that I can build up the pigment, but these mattes don't work as well as some of their mattes in their other palettes. So I've just got to put it out there. And also I've got their Magic palette in front of me as well, like the big one. I wish that they had put out the mini of this the same time that they put out the large one, because remember with the Masquerade, they brought out one which was this size and they brought out the mini, and it just makes more sense to me to have the minis. I mean, I'm probably never going to get through this anyway. I'm definitely never going to get through this, but yeah, I wish I had the mini of it, but it doesn't really matter. So yeah, again, just beautiful, bright, boldly colored shades. Oh, they are my go-to for every kind of look, whether or not it's bright and bold or whether it is natural and downplayed. They do the damn thing. And lastly, I have all of like my browns. So first I've got the Naked Chocolate by I Heart Makeup or Revolution, whatever you want to call it. This is like my favorite palette in their whole chocolate bar range. This is just brown eyeshadow lover's dream. This is gorgeous. This is more on the cooler side than on the warmer side. There are a couple of warm tones in there, but it's predominantly cooler. Like, for example, this Warrior palette is a lot warmer than the Naked Chocolate palette. Like, this is still beautiful. Oh, I love this. This is like one of my most recent purchases, and this is just like chocolate and dripping gold. Like, that's what I get from this palette. It's just so gorgeous, and the pigments on both the mattes and the shimmers are amazing. If you like warm browns, get this. Like, this is fly, I kid you not. But that's the thing, it's like, do I need to have all of these browns? I mean, even with this one here is the nudes. So they had a naked palette and they have a nudes palette. Revolution do, they're crazy. So they have, this one is predominantly brown, but they do have a couple of pops. Like, they've got this peachy shade and this mauve shade here, but it's predominantly brown. But this, again, it's it's a good mixture of warm and cool tone browns. It's not just one type of brown. So if you wanted to create a very cool tone or a very warm tone look, you're gonna get everything in here and a couple of pops of color. Even though they're the kind of pops of color that do suit and complement the browns, they're still pops of color nonetheless. And lastly, my Nubian palette. This is one of the palettes that I had compared to the Warrior palette, which I had just shown you by Juvias again. This was like their first palette there. It's like the OG. I absolutely love this palette. I don't use this one enough. But that's the thing, it's like when I look at all of these palettes together, I'm just kind of like, do I need all of these browns? Like, how much brown do I really need? And the thing is, I know that if I went through the rest of my collection, I'll be able to pick out other palettes which are just like these. And that's in all 4 categories, because I've done my reds and oranges, my purples, my colourfuls, and my browns. Those seem to be the 4 that I draw to the most. Is there really any other kind of colour selection that we draw to? I mean, look, I have come across very pink palettes and very green palettes in my collection. Not palettes, but like I might have a palette which is very green and a palette which is very pink, but I don't have multiple palettes which are green or that are pink. Do you know what I'm saying? So I just tend to mainly draw for those 4 kinds of palettes, and I don't know if I'm gonna stop, especially if Juvias is bringing it out and Makeup Revolution. Like, those 2 are my baes. So if they end up bringing out more stuff, I'm gonna end up getting it. But I do know that I need to do a declutter. That's something that I must do. I did say that I was gonna get rid of all of my fakes because the fakes are just taking up space. I'm not doing my real versus fake series anymore, so all of those fakes that I have, they're just sitting there. They don't get used. They only got used to like swatch and to do like one tutorial so that you can see how they perform, just in case you were to be one of those people who bought it by accident on eBay or something. So they're just there taking up space, and I don't really intend on buying more fakes to do those real versus fakes videos anymore. So I know I need to at least get rid of those anyway. So down below in the comment section, let me know what shades are your vice? What are the shades that you keep rebuying even though you have 1,000,001 of the same shade or same palette or whatever? Like, what are the shades that you keep on buying? Let me know down in the comment section down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, put me a notification, and I'll see you in the next one.